Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today I'll be watching a video titled How Jewish Lady Embraced Islam. Amazing revert story. Right. So from the title I believe that the lady is a Jewish lady prior to being Muslim. I'm assuming Jewish means referring to the belief, the Judaism, not just the lineage or the race. But I'm not sure. But without further ado, let's watch.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I was born in Russia, and I was born into a Jewish family. My mother was Jewish. My father, however, was Armenian, and he's Orthodox Christian, but I was never raised with him. I was raised with my mother. Growing up, I went to yeshiva. It's a Hebrew school. It's very well known. There's one called yeshiva, Beis Yaakov Yeshiva for girls. And I used to speak Hebrew. I used to read and write for about 3 years until I moved to New York.
So, for about 3 years, meaning at the age of 3? Was that very young?
And then, as you know, they say you don't use it, you lose it. So I lost it. Growing up, I was not very religious. We didn't practice Judaism in our house. We even ate pork.
Okay, so yeah, meaning that officially they were of Judaism faith, even though the family is not really practicing. And as well, she lost the language. That made me, my son was once very fluent in his French, but once we left France, that's lost, unfortunately.
My family, being Russian communists, back in the days in Russia, they didn't really practice any religion. Sometimes they were even atheists, and I used to hear things like, when everything is good, look, there's God, you see, thank God. And when things went bad, it was like, oh, where's God? There's no God. So growing up, I was a bit confused, so I didn't practice any religion at all. I used to just say things like, even there's no God, and astaghfirullah, and I really didn't believe sometimes that there was a God.
Okay, then the story begins. And I think that's quite common when I have seen many, conversion stories. When they come from one religion to another, normally either they lack the understanding of the original religion, or they really do not really practice. It's more of officially belong to that religion, right? Rather than being very well versed and really practicing. That tend to be the trend, I think.
Due to all of these confusing, comments that were made in my family throughout. Later on, I would think to myself, well, how could 90% of people believe in God or in a higher being, and here I am, the small percentage not. And then I used to look at my hands, and I used to look at myself, and I used to say, no, someone had to create me. Like, I didn't just create myself. And even this was like at the age of 10, 11, 12, and I said, there has to be a God. But I went on in ignorance, just, doing however I want and following nothing.
Okay, so until now, it's still within the first 10 years of living as human being. That's interesting. I don't even think of anything yet at 10, I think.
When I went to pharmacy school back in New York, in LIU, on the last year, we had some students that were Muslim. And there was a boy, and I didn't really know much about Islam except that what they said on TV, that Muslims are terrorists. So there was a guy in school, one of my classmates, and Hassam, and he told me, he goes, I have a CD and why you should become Muslim. And it's about a Jewish guy who became Muslim. Were you open-minded and interested in listening to that? And I said, sure. I said, why not? So then he brought me a CD, and he said, it's not about, I can't find the one with the Jewish guy. This is about a Christian guy. He was an archbishop at the age of 14, and he became Muslim. So he gave me these two CDs. And I used to travel from Brooklyn to New Jersey, and
speaking of CDs, I used to have a lot of CDs, but now I'm not sure what's happening to all those CDs, because we are now the CDs are still existing, I think, right? But it's not really a thing anymore.
Are you guys from that area? There's a lot of traffic. So I used to listen to these CDs, and they totally hit the spot for me. Like the things this brother said in the CDs, it was mostly about, being Christian, which I never was really interested in. But the things that he mentioned, he said things like, like you should believe in one God, and everything, that you do after that, you can slowly improve, like eating pork or having a boyfriend and a girlfriend and all the things that, non-Muslims do, that we used to live in our lifestyle, in the society that we were raised. So after about 3 weeks, to me, I would like to describe the way it felt was as if your mother, that safety and that goodness that you feel from your mother, that security, that's how I felt about Islam, what this brother was saying about Islam. And I said, you know what? No matter what lifestyle I live now, I have to live this lifestyle. I have to accept this. It's the truth. And I heard it. And I just said the Shahada in the car. He told me on the CD, he said, all you have to do to become Muslim, is say, bear witness that you're a Muslim right here and right now. And I did that in the car. And then, alhamdulillah, ever since then, that was 25 years ago. And ever since then, I've been increasing my knowledge and, trying my best to practice Islam, alhamdulillah, following all the things that, as best as I can. And
Okay, alhamdulillah. Now, that triggers a question in my mind. How many people actually go through that experience where they become a Muslim not in front of someone, right? Meaning that, because I noticed that in the US, I think the Quran sold at the back when one of the video that I react to, it have the Shahada, meaning that if you believe in what is this is representing, etc., you can testify your faith, right, with the Shahada. I wonder how many people actually do that, meaning that people might not know they have testified in front of Allah that they believe, but until they share that to other people, people wouldn't know that they actually have gone through that process. It's somewhat like a secret Muslim, something like that. And how many of those are there? I'm wondering.
I have never been happier. Islam only made me a better person. All my family members love me. They just don't like the fact that, I can't hug them and kiss them, my cousins. I tell them, gotta get over that. You hug me and kiss me enough. But other than that, it's alhamdulillah, it's something that I can never thank Allah for. I can never, ever, ever thank Him enough for that.
Now, before you started to implement Islam in your life, before you started to accept Islam, did you go back to the roots of your mother, what she was upon, or you said they weren't really practicing? Did you go to look into, like, maybe there's truth here, or Christianity? Did you try to experiment with other religions?
No, I did not.
Okay, so I'm assuming this is from the Dean show, because he was interviewing there, and perhaps that's what. Perhaps originally there's a logo there for the Dean show, and it is covered up by this the something like a thumbnail or something there. I think if you take, you should credit, right? Meaning that you should credit the original content creator and not just take it, even though it is to share something positive.
I'm the type of person, Allah had given us a brain, and when I hear something that's 100% correct, I accept it.
Now, what made you also start to reflect and think about, like, why am I here? What's the purpose of life? Many people, they don't really reflect about this. Was there a point in your life, was there something happening in your life that had you start to really reflect? Like, you maybe saw some people dying, old family members, they have like a tragedy happen, and that kind of humbles them. Was there anything unique that you remember that had you start to think about this very important issue?
Actually, just the fact that I didn't believe in one God, and I didn't believe all of these things was bothering me. There was something inside of me that did not feel correct, even though I was expressing it and saying it and living it. And then I just was, sleeping in bed, and I used to just look at myself, and mostly I remember looking at my hands, and I was like, look like these veins and like all this blood flow, and like, it's just, I was amazed by the fact that I was feeling one thing, and saying and expressing one thing, but it's not the case. Someone had created you. It wasn't anything that happened in my life. It was just a normal, I think, what's inside of us that God put in us, the innateness.
How do you feel now? You said this. You took the Shahada. That was 25 years ago to this day. Did you start to implement? Some people, okay, they, like you said, it's innately built in every human being. When that truth comes, right? There's a lot of man-made religions. They don't make sense, but the religion from the Creator, it's perfect. It makes sense. It goes with what we call the fitrah, right? So you got to give it a shot. And that call to worship the Creator, not the creation, you can't argue with that. It's simple. It makes sense, and the evidence is just overwhelming. I mean, it's just so much there. Someone is sincere and humble, and they look for the truth, they'll find it in Islam. Now, many people, they accept the truth, but now there's some action that needs to be followed. You got to start establishing the prayer, right? For Muslim women, that modest dress code. How was that? Did you, some people implement right away? Did it take some time? Was there some struggles with that?
Actually, in the beginning, the prayer, alhamdulillah, was not a struggle. I started to read the books, and I started to read the, the Fatiha and what I needed to do in order to do the prayer. One of the hardest things in the beginning for me was not to eat those ham sub heroes that we used to have in New York. But alhamdulillah, I switched over to turkey, and then that helped a lot. As far as the hijab, I always knew you had to wear it, but for the first 5 years of my life, I did not wear it. The reason being is I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed of what people thought about me. And then as the years passed by, I always knew that I had to wear it, and I always felt bad that I wasn't. I always made dua. I made supplication to Allah. Oh Allah, please don't let me die without putting on the hijab. I just give me the power to do that. And one day I said to myself, I have people coming into my pharmacy that I counsel all the time. They come, exposing their body parts naked and however, and they come in front of me and and here I am covered up. I said people need to appreciate that, and mostly I need to appreciate that. This is Allah gave us as a protection. And so I said, enough being embarrassed, Other people should be embarrassed to expose themselves, not me to expose myself the way I am. And I just went to work one day, I put on the hijab, and I came in and they're like, who are you? They thought I was a floater pharmacist. And I'm like, it's me. Didn't I always tell you guys that you should wear hijab? Because they used to ask me, they used to say, well, how come she's wearing it and you don't wear it? And I don't want to make, the Muslim people look bad just because I'm committing something that's a sin. And it is a sin in Islam. It's black and white. So I used to tell them, you see her? I said, she's doing the right thing. You see me? I said, I'm doing the wrong thing. And I had several people asking me that throughout my pharmacy days when I used to work in New Jersey. And so, alhamdulillah, I put it on and I fought myself all day and in the morning, and it was terrible the way I wore it. But I said, you know what? That's it. I got to do it. And now, of course, I can never take it off. It's like part of me, part of my identity. And that's another thing. People didn't know that I was Muslim. So if you're not dressed properly and you're not, obeying what Allah has, commanded on you for your own good, then people really won't know who you are. And I did not want to be embarrassed of who I am. I'm very proud that I'm Muslim. Alhamdulillah, very, very proud and very passionate about my religion.
Tell us, how do you feel, sister, here?
The story is interesting, right? And it's not not to say it's not unique, but for many revert, of course, different revert have different struggles, depend on the circumstances, the surrounding, the pressure of the surrounding. But this kind of story, because it contrasts the idea or the assumption that Muslim women cover up because they are forced to by the men. I'm not sure how prevalent still this idea or assumption, but I have come across this comment a lot. So this kind of story is interesting when people, especially those reverts, they could go through certain process which internal challenges, etc., to the point that they decide this is for me, right?
Practicing Islam in Florida. This is Trump's not too far from here, is he? Yeah. How do you feel? Do you feel there's some heat now on you? Do you feel like any backlash? How is the climate here towards Muslims in Florida?
Actually, I've been to Trump's house not too long ago. I work with someone who is a member of Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach, and for several years she's been inviting me over and over and over to come to have some meetings over there. And I went over there. They treated me like royalty. I didn't feel comfortable going over there, but he wasn't there. But they took me, the butlers, the staff, the woman that works for me, and we had a very good time. As far as being intimidated or anything like that, no, I'm not. Alhamdulillah, I believe in whatever's going to happen to you. Your destiny is going to happen to you. You just have to do your best, and make a good impression for people. Your behavior should be the best always, in front of your outside or inside of your house, and you just have to be a good Muslim and submit yourself to Allah. And then eventually, actually, I think all of the bad exposure, there is good coming out of it, because there's a lot of people that ask me about Islam at work. A lot of people ask me about Islam, and I am able to talk about it in my particular workplace. It's not corporate. My cousin owns the place. We fight all the time. It's in Russian. But he's like, oh, stop spreading this propaganda here. I'm like, what do you want me to do? They're asking me, And so here and there we talk about it. And yeah, it's a lot of good stuff is coming out of this. People are interested and they want to know. And a lot of times they research, they hear the truth, they accept it however they go about it. But there are a lot of people that are becoming Muslims, the number one growing religion, and it will continue to be so, inshallah.
For the common answer that we hear many times, people will espouse, they'll say that, oh, the Muslim woman, they got her all covered up, she's oppressed, right? What do you say when you hear that? As a Muslim woman who's wearing hijab, practicing Islam.
Well, I can tell you from both ways. From non-practicing, being a non-practicing Muslim, I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, Brighton Beach. I used to walk in a two-piece bikini on the beach, practically my whole young life. And To someone who says that, a Muslim woman is being oppressed because of the way she's dressed, absolutely not. I see it the other way, because the expectations are very high if you're, not Muslim. They're very high. Everyone always wants to look good, expose as much private parts as they can. Their husband walking around, displaying them. No, you are a treasure and a beauty, and you should be covered. And that beauty is not for everyone to see. And that's what I tell all the people, that I work with that ask me, well, you're so covered, you must be hot. No, I'm not hot. I used to be more hot when I used to be on the beach or on that boardwalk or outside wearing nothing. Yes, then the sun hits your skin and you sweat a lot more. Here, you're covered, and you're not that hot. I love it. I do not feel any kind of, I don't miss anything that I have done before, If I want to go and, in a bathing suit or whatever, I have my backyard that's fully covered, and I could do that. There's nothing, I go to the beach, I go just like this, swimming. It's no problem. It's great. I don't have to worry about people seeing me, seeing my fat, seeing my this, seeing my that, all my imperfections, It's not for anyone to see. It's only for your husband and your family.
Just a couple more questions for the people out there. Also, Islam being the most misunderstood way of life, but as you said, it's the fastest growing way of life in the world. And you just cleared one of the many misconceptions of Muslim women being oppressed. You're a Muslim woman. They've gotten to hear from you, and we usually often tell people, go speak to the Muslim woman, right? Instead of coming up with these things from the media and from your own mind. And tell us, can you, now that you found purpose, your living purpose, comparing it to when you didn't have Islam to now, how does it feel?
Yes, before Islam, there was no purpose. There was no worship. There was no creator. There was no maker. There was just, you basically worship others and yourself. It feels great that I know that, I have a purpose in this life, and then, inshallah, God willing, there's an afterlife for me. An afterlife that no one can imagine, just complete bliss. And this is what I strive for. Before, back in the days, I've always felt empty, did whatever I wanted to do, depressed, and just like doing things wrong to make myself feel better, drinking, and, just the whole society, socializing the wrong way, going out with the wrong people. A lot of mistakes. Your intellect is not there when you don't have guidance. It's just, you can't use it very well.
What advice do you have?
Okay, to that point, logically and rationally, I think I can see that anyone who do not have religion, or do not believe in higher power, etc., or officially belong to any religion, but actually deep inside, do not really believe or do not really have that connection to those things. Emptiness, etc. It's you can say you cannot run from it, right? But I see it like three different categories. One, those who do not believe in higher power and in God, in the Creator and serving the Creator, right? That's one group. Another group is actually believing in something that they believe from God, right? Be it Muslim, Christian, I'm assuming Jewish. I'm not sure whether there are similarities with other religion with this, right? But of course, only one of these is the truth, and hence there's a difference between those who really believe that they are serving God, but unfortunately on falsehood, and those who are serving God and alhamdulillah on the truth. On a certain level, I think there are similarity between them in terms of feeling some sort of fulfillment, right? Because we have a greater mission compared to those who do not have any higher purpose. Just the difference is false and truth, and I'm interested to hear the answer for this particular question. For those who have converted from one religion to another religion, for example, from Christianity to Islam, right? Especially for if they have a purpose before and a purpose now, because like this one, well, even though she is officially Jewish before, but do not really practice. So whatever official religion in that sense, it's not really, you do not really have a higher purpose, right? So I'm really interested because I have known some of Christian church and Christian priests that become Muslim, and Christian pastors or preachers that become Muslim. Of course, from their stories, I can appreciate certain things where they really believe that they have a big purpose, and they converted Muslim to Christian because they want to save the Muslim before they themselves find the truth in Islam, right? So I think that's a different for those people, because for any of those with pure heart like that, they will continue to search for the truth wherever they find them, or they may find them, compared to those who are not, right? Okay, anyway.
Sincere, genuine advice for anyone who's tuned in, right? They're watching the show, they're watching the Dean show, they're hearing your story, they like the message of that pure monotheism, connecting with the Creator, not worshiping the creation, doing good deeds, having a blueprint for life. If there's apprehensions, what's my family going to say? You not coming from a background that your mother was Jewish, your father was Christian, right? People are also timid, scared, that courage that they need is not there, but they want to accept, and they're going through many of these apprehensions. What advice do you have for them?
Well, the first advice I
He is always, passionate, I would say.
have for them is that those people that make you feel might be, intimidated, your family mostly that you love right now so much, they're not going to be here for you once you die. You're going to be all by yourself, and you're going to answer to your maker, your creator, okay? What you have done and how you have lived on this earth. Second thing is, if you maintain once you become Muslim, you are a much better person. You have more patience with your family. Your family will see all of the good things, as many new convert Muslim families do. They even do admit it. They just don't like what they hear because maybe they're ignorant, the media, so on and so forth. My best advice is, if you believe in Allah and you believe that you have one creator, one maker, and you should worship him in the way that he wants to have worship, don't let anything stop you. Make the witness, the shahada, take your shahada, and you worry about everything else later on, but everything will fall into place. You just have to maintain the respect. My family, they don't like the fact that I'm Muslim, okay, for several reasons, but do they love me? They love me so much, okay? I'm tough a little bit with them, I tell them, look, I don't, tell you what you have to do. I don't tell you about your religion, the churches you go to. You have to respect. We all have to respect each other, and that's what you have to make your family, your friends understand. I had a lot of friends back in the days that actually, now I'm getting back together in touch with them. Because in the beginning I became a new Muslim and I didn't know how to handle it. It's very important to know how to handle relationships when you're a new Muslim. Don't be too extreme, don't say this is haram, or just learn, ask somebody. Always ask somebody if you don't know the best way to handle it, whether it's an imam, a sister, or someone that you can trust and give you good advice.
Sister, thank you so much for joining us here on the Dean Show. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, it's from the Dean show. What she advised in the end, I believe is applicable as well for Muslim to Muslim, right? Meaning that Muslim who have been practicing to Muslim that, do not really practice and do not really understand. So we have to have certain level of patience and know how to deal with them. Understanding, not accepting or acknowledging what they're doing, but understand where they come from. Even though they may be born into Muslim family, but no one really, convey what they need to really understand and feel, unfortunately. So there's process to that, and we have to know how to deal with that, right? Right, okay, so that's a great story. Alhamdulillah, summa alhamdulillah. Yeah, I think I do not have anything to add to this. What do you think? Because I'm actually interested to see how many Jewish people that become Muslim, especially from the practicing group, right? Because previously, like 10 years ago, I have known one person from a Jewish family that is a Muslim, meaning they have family in the state of Israel or the illegitimate state of Israel. So that's quite interesting, but I haven't heard of many, so I'm interested because I have a lot, meaning there's a lot of stories of Christian becoming Muslim, right? And that's I think that's the biggest group of becoming Muslim because it's close, right? But I'm interested about Jewish people. Well, that's it for today. What do you have to say? Comment down below, inshallah. I would love to know if you have any interesting stories. With that, thank you for watching. See you next time.